Monday, 8 p.m, Stamford Bridge. Chelsea desperately need to get back to winning ways. Mauricio Pochettino needs to get a tune out of these boys and show the fan base that his position as Chelsea manager is still savable. And in Chelsea's way lies Newcastle. I'm joined today by my good friend and channel fan favourite, Josh Aveste. We are going to preview the match. We're going to speak about the keys to victory. We are going to talk about Newcastle and just how they're faring this season. And ultimately, we're both going to give our starting lineups for this game. Josh, you looking forward to this one?
Do you know what? It's a hard one, isn't it? Because of our little connection to a certain Geordie. I really like Newcastle.
I like Newcastle.
So I find this hard. I would much prefer Newcastle to be up the league than a team like Man City. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would really like them to be back up the top. So to see them get into Champions League was brilliant. But you know as well as I do, mate, it goes out the window on Monday night. We are going to be gunning for a Chelsea win, and
one of our best moments this season was against Newcastle.
Wait a second, Joey. That moment against Newcastle, who scored that goal?
Can't bet some blonde fella. Can't really remember.
Who scored that goal?
No,
was it a mistake? It was mainly a mistake, though, right? Wasn't it? It was a
Trippier,
Newcastle.
that was it.
Yeah.
Trippier gifted them to it. Yeah. Well, listen, you wait until you see my starting lineup. You may be happy. You might go weak at the knees. Is there any optimism from you? Like I've said time in, time out, haven't I, that one of the benefits of having an inconsistent team is when you get a bad performance, when you don't win, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be followed by a bad performance. It works the other way when you get a good one. Very rarely do you follow it with a good performance. If you're Mudryk, when you score a goal, very rarely, if ever, will you ever then get a start in the next match. And that's the trend we've seen from him so far. Are you feeling optimistic about this match? Because I'll be honest, I'm quite pessimistic about this match. I'm really not feeling the vibe from the boys at the minute. It's weird, isn't it? Because I spoke to Joe Cole on the day of the Fulham game.
Your mate Joe?
My mate Joe, yeah.
Yeah. Just drop that in.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me pick that up. Hold on. Sorry, just dropped Joe Cole's name on the phone. I spoke to Joe Cole just on the day of the Fulham game when we won. What did we beat them? 2-1, was it? I think it was Petrovic, man of the match, brilliant. But yeah, spoke to him on that day, and he had been at Cobham and he'd been around the boys, and he said to me, mate, he went, honestly, there's such a good feeling at the training ground. Everyone loves Poch, and listen, I believe him, but it's very hard because when we're looking at it on the pitch at the moment, I'm not saying that there's fallings out left, right, and centre, but we're just not feeling that. And obviously, Pochettino's saying about not feeling love from the fans. So going into this game is a real low. And what I've learnt so far this season is when there's a low going into the game, we normally see a half-decent performance from us, don't we?
Yeah, we do. But do you know what I mean? Like, pattern recognition is one thing, but then you've still got to beat Newcastle. And look, if we can't beat them with all of the injuries they've got, and yes, we've, breaking news, got even more injuries, and we'll get into that in a second. But, like, if we can't beat a team that are decimated with injuries at home, like Newcastle, who, let's be honest, are a mid-table team just like us at the moment, then something's going wrong. And again, back in the day, old Chelsea would never be anywhere near that. But you have to say, Eddie Howe, the management that he's doing at that football club is exemplary. It's unbelievable management. And I have to say, he's getting a tune out of that squad. And so for me, that's why I am a bit more pessimistic in this game.
Mad, isn't it, right? We've got a game in hand on Newcastle. If we were to win that game in hand, we're 1 point behind them. If we were to beat them on Monday, we'd be 2 points ahead if we beat them and then win that game in hand. However, the feeling around their season is so different to the feeling around ours. Like, I look at Newcastle and I'm like, yeah, you've had shit luck. You've been injured. Your hands have been tied by FFP. You've not been allowed to spend the sort of money that we were back in the day, that Man City were. Even more recently, that Everton have been able to, and obviously now they're sort of paying the fines of that, or the points deductions of that, I should be saying. And I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. I somewhat feel sympathy for Newcastle, and I look at what's going on at St James's Park, and I think, do you know what? Like, I say this to Brian all the time, then I say, you boys shouldn't be worried. I won't worry, because things are going to be fine for you. I have belief in Newcastle. However, if you just line up the problems in terms of on the pitch, what we're in control of, which is obviously the squad being decimated by injuries, we've had a very similar season to Newcastle, but I think we're in a way more trouble than Newcastle. I think it's way more doom and gloom. I don't have that confidence and that belief in our team. So it's similar that we're almost in a like-for-like situation when it comes to the personnel being out, but there's a different feeling around Newcastle than there is around Chelsea.
I'll tell you what, there is right now, but you know what the Premier League is like? Things can change pretty quickly. Like, if Newcastle do continue this trend of injuries and they can't really field a squad that they need to win some of these games, and they get recurrences of injuries, like, say, for example, Barnes, who was on the bench for the last game, imagine if he got injured again. Like, you'd start being very, very scared. And also, like, say, for instance, they did just go on a run where they drew a couple of games, lost a couple of games. Like, they could very easily slip into a very similar position to what we are. Like, think about it. It's very, very close, between Newcastle and ourselves, and even just above Newcastle. It's super close. So this is interesting, mate.
But before we get into all that, I've got a secret for you. I've had a word with the guys at Steak, mate, who are sponsoring this video, and I've told them that times are hard. There's a bit of a cost of living crisis going on and whatnot. But I've told them that you are desperate to get involved in Steak, mate. And because of that, they have promised to give you a £5 free bet. But there is a catch. You need to be one of the first 1,000 people to qualify for this offer. How do you do it? You hit the link in my description. You go to the StakeMate app and download it. It's as easy as that. Once you've signed up, the £5 free bet will be ready to use in your account. But what am I using my £5 free bet on this weekend? Well, let me tell you. But while I pull my bet up, I've just got to say, what an amazing app. It's so easy to use. It's beautiful to look at. Love the colour scheme. I have gone this week with Tottenham to get the win against Aston Villa in a huge match at Villa Park. Brighton to get back to winning ways against Nottingham Forest. I've gone West Ham to beat Burnley at home, and in one of the pivotal, most defining games of this Premier League season, I really do think that Jurgen Klopp's men are going to beat Manchester City. And at the time of recording, by putting just £5 on, that stands to return me over £100. £100 for betting £5 of what is not even my money. You can't get better value than that. But hold on. I'm pretty sure I've just seen a new tab. We've been waiting for this one. StakeMate have promised it, and now they've delivered. StakeMate now have the squads tab. So don't worry about the WhatsApp groups anymore. This is your essential go-to tab where you can bet with your friends. So as you can see there, Josh has placed this little bet. He shared it with us just in case we're interested in lumping on too. And a £5 bet for him returns just under £160. And you know what, Josh? I like the look of that bet. I'm going to lump a fiver on it myself. So if that's not enough to have you sold on Stake, mate, I really don't know what will be. Click the link in the description. Download the app. Remember that StakeMate is a betting app, meaning you do need to be 18 years old or over to use it. You do need to be living inside the UK, and most importantly, we all need to remember to gamble responsibly. Thank you very much to StakeMate for sponsoring another video. Let's get into it.
Right now, the narrative is Newcastle have been hard done by, but still they're pulling together a decent amount of results and points, and they're looking better than they should. Whereas us is like almost the complete opposite. We are high spenders, high wages, and yet we're failing, and the manager isn't good enough. If we do, as you say, have that scenario where we do beat them in this game, and then we go up and have a good set of runs, which absolutely couldn't happen. It might not happen. You never know. But if it did, then things become very different, and the fan bases sort of switch around, mate. So I think by the end of the season, that's the time that I would judge both of these clubs in terms of like the narrative going forward, because it could change.
One player that I've been massively impressed by this season is Anthony Gordon. Do you know what? If Foden hadn't have had the season he had and coming into the sort of form he now is, like, not even that long ago, I was saying on the kickoff that I'd have Anthony Gordon as my left winger for England in this upcoming Euros. I think now I would be naive to say that the standout isn't Foden, but it really does show just what a season he's had. We nearly bought Anthony Gordon. It almost, I think we had a bid accepted, didn't we, for Anthony Gordon? For whatever reason, it didn't happen. And I remember at the time thinking that we had dodged a bullet. I was looking at the young players.
There were protests. Bowley was sat in his box, and there were people shouting at him, "Don't sign Anthony Gordon." Do you not remember that?
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Like that's actually probably the reason why it didn't go through. By the way,
but is that a sign of the coaching he's had at Newcastle, or is that just the player that he was going to be, or is it somewhere in the middle? Because the reason I'll say that initially I'd think, yeah, but probably would have come to Chelsea and been a bit of a flop. The same way that I always say that if Mudryk had gone to Arsenal, I think he would have been more of a success because of the structure, the infrastructure there to be able to make a success of a player. However, we do look at some of our lads who were okay, we were underwhelming at the time that they were in the team, but Lewis Hall, he's gone to Newcastle and he hasn't pushed on. So I think it's a credit to Anthony Gordon that he has proved us wrong as a fan base, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think we would have ruined him. I really do agree with you on that. I don't think he would be anywhere near as good as what he is right now. And again, this is what I mean about Eddie Howe being a very good manager. Like Eddie Howe has made this guy better, coached him, improved him. But I have to say, I do think he's got like a natural level of talent. We obviously knew that the data was there. You could see that. But we didn't know if the raw talent that he had could be formed into a top quality player that played for England. I have to say, mate, I know what you're saying about Foden, but for me, Gordon's in the squad.
But, he's in the squad. He's in the squad. I just don't know about first 11 if he gets in over Foden. Had Foden have not hit fire like he has in definitely recent weeks, I would have had him in there ahead of him. Let's see how the season finish. They got a lot to thank us for, Newcastle, I would say. Tino Livramento, well schooled, Cobham boy. He looks unreal as well, doesn't he?
He does. We could do with him, couldn't we? I mean, you say that. Maybe we could do with him on the left rather than on the right these days, because we've got absolutely stacked with our right back options. But what a player! And I miss him. I do think that's one of those ones they will regret. But he definitely seemed like he had itchy feet and he was ready to go, wasn't he? He said he wanted to play week in, week out football, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Do you know what? We're speaking about personnel now, and I've got to read you out the injury list. So we're recording this on Thursday, and when I sort of looked at this injury list released from Chelsea, I thought, okay, but yeah, Thursday to Monday, there might be a bit of difference and maybe we'll be fine. You were saying to me you don't think that Chelsea, who have released this through their official website, would have put this out if any of these players that they're now saying are injured or out were going to be in contention.
Usually what happens with those injury updates is they're related to the game. So what that means is if someone is ill, like Conor Gallagher seemed to be, that means that he will most likely miss the game. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on the injury list, because what they would say is he's just recovering at Cobham.
So we know the obvious ones, Ugachukwu, Nkunku, Lavia, Reece James, Fofana are all out. The not so obvious ones are the ones where there was a little bit of jeopardy, whether they're being out or shaking it all about, is Conor Gallagher absent due to illness. So it looks like we're not going to have Conor Gallagher in there. Levi Colwell, he's out. Benoit Badiashile, not yet back. And Kane Chukwuemeka to join team training. Now, obviously, because he's coming back from another injury that he was out for a prolonged period of time, literally from the start of the season when he scored that belter against West Ham, I just don't think there's any chance we see him in this match. If there is, maybe 5 minutes. It's a real shame, because when I'm looking through my lineup, it is sparse. We are stretched massively for injuries. And any viewers of the channel, and definitely yourself, Josh, will know what a fan I am of Kane Chukwuemeka. I really rate the boy.
Yeah, me too.
Let's start off with our starting lineups. Do you want to give yours first?
Why not? Shall I just go straight into it, player by player? Here we go.
Straight in.
Here we go. Right. So Petrovic in goal. We keep saying it, but it's done. It's a done deal. So the injuries have screwed it up. I had a completely different back line to the one that I'm going to name, because obviously we're missing Colwell and Chilwell. It's crazy. It just come out. Do you know what? Something must have happened in training, because that's come out of the blue on both of those. Never even had it. What I have just thought is Cucurella has been training.
He's not on that injury list.
No, Cucurella has been training in the first team. So there's a potential that Cucurella comes back. My team that I'm going to read out now is bearing in mind that he's coming back off an injury, quite a serious injury, had surgery. Probably isn't likely to be risking this. So my back line is going to be this. Trevor on the right-hand side. Then I'm going to go to Sassy. Silva is back, so I'd go with Silva, and then Gusto on the left. That's how I'm going to set up the back line.
By the way, Malo Gusto, oh my God, great at left back as well as right back, mate, isn't he?
He's just so good.
When it comes to the end of the season, I think me, you, and the 85,000 subscribers I've got, we're all in agreement. Player of the season is going to be Cole Palmer, isn't it?
It depends if Gusto has a run at it. Do you know what I mean? He's been so dominant in the last few games.
I just think because of positionally where he is and the fact that he's going to be able to put up the numbers when it comes to goals and assists is so likely to be Cole Palmer. But we're getting at the same point, aren't we? My God, Malo Gusto could be really, really running him close, couldn't he?
Give him Young Player of the Year as well. He absolutely deserves that. I know him and Cole Palmer are in a similar category with that. But, when he whips in a ball, a pitch-perfect pass straight on to Nicholas Jackson's head, again, mate, how many times has he done those crosses this season where they've just been brilliant? We've probably missed about half of them as well.
And that's why I say about him on the left. He can do it from the left-hand side as well. I mean, the match against Preston, he put one straight onto Broha's head, who couldn't hit a barn door at the time, and it's too hard to miss it. He's unreal, man. And as I say, we need to be getting some Champions League football or some sort of European football sometime soon, because I tell you what,
he'll be wanting it
next couple of seasons, man. Not just him, the big teams are going to come knocking for Malo Gusto sooner rather than later. So, what about your midfield?
So, I'm going to go with Caicedo and Enzo. These guys need a rest so badly. I would love to be giving them some minutes off. Luckily, mate, we've had a bit more time from the last game than we had in the previous 3. So hopefully they have been off training, sitting on their asses and having a bit of a break, because that's what they need at the moment. I honestly would just want them putting their feet up and sipping some non-alcoholic cocktails, to be honest with you.
Have the alcohol if you want.
Yeah,
used to work for everyone back in the day. Maybe that's what we need. A couple more boys on the piss up.
Literally. Yeah. So yeah, I'd go with those two, and I think both of them are so good. And like I said, mate, I don't understand this Caicedo rubbish about people saying.
Mate, Caicedo has been really good, man. Caicedo has been really good, and a lot of the time when you look at Caicedo mistakes, they've been mistakes that have been put on a plate for him to make, in terms of the distribution not being good enough. What was it against Leeds? It was the Disasi pass to him that came off Robert Sanchez not being able to just hoof a ball up pitch like Petrovic seems so comfortable with. So a lot of the time, man, he does a lot more good than he does bad. I think obviously as well, like, footballing age is something that is different to the actual age of a player, and I get that, and I get you might go, oh well, he's played in the Premier League. Listen, Caicedo is 21 or something, 22. He's a young player. He's getting his feet under the table. Next season, man, even this season we're seeing good things, but next season I think he's going to be in contention for player of the season then as well. So I think he's settling in well. He's a great player. What about your number 10?
So I'm going to go with Cole Palmer in the 10 of this one. I actually think the number 10 is Cole Palmer's best position long term.
Yeah, at first, when he first came in, I was sort of thinking it was his best position, but more recently, I do think it is right wing. But
I just want some bit more pace and acceleration on the right wing. Yeah,
that's one thing he doesn't really do there is run at men.
You got to think as well. What is Newcastle's biggest weakness? It's probably the left back, isn't it? It's Dan Burn on the left back. So I want some pace. So do you know what, mate? I've written the name down on the right-hand side here, and I'm actually going to change what I've written down.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Noni on the right.
Nice.
Purely for that pace and that acceleration to try and beat Dan Burn. That's what I'd go with. And I like to see him cut in. So then on the other side, no surprises here, I'm obviously going to go for my boy, Mikhailo.
Of course he is. I
haven't put him in the team recently. I haven't had him in my starting lineup, but my God, I'm excited to see him play.
So, Noni on the right, Mudryk on the left, Jacko through the middle?
Jacko through the middle. Simple, isn't it? He's our only striker. Let's just play him there. Mate, honestly, I know you don't necessarily mind false nines, but I'm over false nines.
Well, it just, we've seen it. It hasn't really worked great, but I think sometimes our hands forced, isn't it? All the time our hands forced by these injuries. So I will get you into my team. Little bit similar, not too similar. Obviously, what you said about Cucurella has made me really, really think that maybe that would be an option for us in this game. But again, it's rushing someone back from an injury. And I do think that, especially when you're now seeing the likes of Ben Chilwell injured, Cucurella is going to be a big important player for us in this sort of running of the end of the season. And do you know what? Never really thought I'd say it. Looking forward to seeing Cucurella back because he was impressing me before he went.
Can I just ask your opinion of these rumours? Apparently, we're going to sell him in the summer.
What, Cucurella?
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
It's a hard one. I never want to see Levi Colwell over at left back. It pains me to say, and I feel like a real snide saying this sometimes, but either clearly because Ben Chilwell's out, but either he's still carrying something or a 4 at the back doesn't suit him as well as when we were flying forward with Wimgax does. But so far, Ben Chilwell came back into the side against Middlesbrough. I was at that match. He was unreal. Man of the match. Absolutely unreal. Apart from that I feel he's been underwhelming. Some people agree, some people feel it more strongly than me, and some people strongly disagree. So I'm very open to the fact that different people see things in different ways. But for me, Ben Chilwell's not looked as good as he has. And the thing that suffered the most from Chile's game, for me, has been the distribution and what he offers in attack. So when you take that away from Chile's game, if we're going on prime Chelsea Cucurella, which is, the Cucurella that a lot of the time earlier in the season was playing at right back, but, played against, obviously, that sort of run of matches, Fulham, Burnley, Arsenal. If you're going on that Cucurella or this version of Ben Chilwell, if we're not getting the distribution from Ben Chilwell and we're not getting the assists and we're not getting the attacking flair that maybe we're getting from Malo Gusto and we were getting from Ben Chilwell back in the day, Cucurella's a better option for me.
So you wouldn't sell him?
I wouldn't sell Cucurella, no. But
interesting,
because
one of them is probably going to go.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be Ben packing his bags.
Let's see what happens. So Petrovic in goal for me. Right back, I am going to go with Alfie Gilchrist. I think he looks class every single time he plays there, to be honest. I think he looks really good. Listen, he's going to have a tough match coming up against, the likes of Anthony Gordon, but don't know, man. We're stretched at the moment, and I do think that it would be it'd be wrong of me to not just consider Alfie Gilchrist just because he hasn't got the experience. Because when he's come in, he's always done a job for us. He's never been at fault for anything, in my opinion. I think he's played well, so I would chuck him in there. Disasi and Silva as a centre back pairing. And then the main man, Malo Gusto, he's going to switch over to left back this game, and he'll still probably get an assist. He'll be fine in there. Caicedo and Enzo in the pivot. And in the number 10, I am going to go with your boy, Mykhailo Mudryk. There's a few question marks around Mykhailo Mudryk in that 10 position, because I think that attacking-wise, Mudryk looked good in that 10. He sees a lot more of the ball. He doesn't go missing as much. So I think definitely give him an opportunity here. Give him a chance to shine here. Let's be honest, mate. I think we both agree he should have started the match against Brentford, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he should have.
And it's mad, 5 games that he's scored in, and every single time he hasn't been played in the next game. And people could possibly look at the fact that, Mykhailo Mudryk is a player that I haven't been vocal in my support for. And if anything, I've been the opposite.
I think there's been a lot of banter, Joey.
There has been.
I think there's been a lot of banter.
There has been.
Yeah.
But there's always a but. There's always a but. Regardless of that, I did pick him to start in the next match against Brentford in my starting lineup. And I do think that, we hear all this stuff about how Mauricio Pochettino is so great in developing young players. And we see it so far this season. Malo Gusto, he's done a good job with. Cole Palmer, Conor Gallagher, there's always the question of, well, would those players have kicked on without him? I think Conor Gallagher's the case in point. Conor Gallagher's the one that you can definitively say, no, Poch has done a good job with him there. Cole Palmer, Malo Gusto, maybe their quality would just shine through under any manager. But one player he's not done a good job with is Mykhailo Mudryk. And that's not to say it's his fault. It's not Poch's fault. It could be Mudryk. But when you look at that stat, it's pretty damning, isn't it? 5 matches you've scored in, and then you've not played in the next match. And
when you look at Brentford's as well, and you think, we were playing a back 5, it was always going to be super defensive. And then you're looking, obviously it was going to be Enzo and Caicedo in front of them. Could you have been a little bit more experimental with some of those options in front of them? Do you know what I mean? Like, could you have maybe not started Gallagher from the get-go and put Mudryk in instead, and then had Mudryk and Palmer? Mate, think about the way that Tuchel used to play. He used to have 2 very attacking players behind a central 9, didn't they? And it was more of a 5-2-3, wasn't it, rather than a 5-3-2. But in this game, obviously, you had more midfielders coming in. So for me, I just wish he did a bit more of a risk and played someone like Mudryk.
So let's see how he does in that 10. I think he needs to be given an opportunity. I don't think creatively he's as good in a 10 as a Cole Palmer would be. I also don't think he offers the same sort of presence there as Conor Gallagher does. And I think that maybe Enzo and Caicedo might have a bit of a tougher match, a bit more ground to cover if Mudryk is in that 10. But listen, man, we are where we are. Injury-wise, we are where we are, and we've got to just persevere and do the best we can. And listen, you'll know from my energy that I've pretty much thrown the towel in for this season anyway. So let's just play him and see how he does. Up top, I'm going Mudryk. I'm going Cole Palmer in the false nine, which will surprise you, and I'm going Nicholas Jackson on the left wing. I've really liked Nicholas Jackson when I've seen him out wide. I think he looks better as a winger than he does as a striker. But what I do look at there is an interchangeable front line. So basically, I'm saying I'm going Cole Palmer in the false nine, Nicholas Jackson. They can change, they can switch. The only thing with that front line is Mudryk doesn't look like he can go on the left wing. He's very much a right winger. And that then begs question marks over why he was brought in and Cole Palmer was brought in the next window. But yeah, I would definitely say that when I'm looking at that front line, Palmer and Jackson can switch. They probably will switch during the match. The main thing for me was I didn't really want to put Sterling in there. I haven't been impressed by him in the last couple of games, and that was why I've maybe opted for that lineup. But you can look at that and you could go, well, could Cole Palmer go in the 10 and Mykhailo Mudryk could come in and Jackson could go through the middle? There's always the option there. That's how I'm pretty much going for it in this match.
Isn't it mad that in both of our teams, bearing in mind we've got injuries left, right and centre, we both haven't selected Raheem Sterling? It's scary when you've got a player of his quality.
Highest earner at the club.
Highest earner. It's a real damning feat for him.
Scored a banger of a free kick at St James's Park.
He did. And yet we're not even considering him. I have to say, I'm hearing rumours about Saudi, and I'm hearing that there are potential bids being thought about. I would rip their hand off. I couldn't wait for that bid to come in. I just want him off. I just don't want him to be our problem anymore. And do you know what's funny? It feels like Liverpool fans and City fans had a similar experience. You know, they were just ready for him to go.
It's a strange one. I'd like to know in the comments section, because we get a few every now and again, Sterling hate, but it's not even that. Like, I would love nothing more than Sterling to be absolutely killing it for us on the wing. I don't know, man. He's just hot and cold.
I just want consistency, like you say. I just want him to play week in, week out, and just do the easy stuff, like just track back a bit, help your defender out, and then go up the other end and try and contribute. Like, we're not asking for much, and he can't even do that at the moment. So no wonder we're fuming.
Kick it in the fucking goal hole.
Just get it in the bloody goal hole.
Yeah.
Come on, listen to Mark Corrigan.
Right. Okay. If we are beaten in this match, are we getting a club statement the following morning, that evening, or is it still perseverance with Pochettino?
I would want the statement to go out, because I think after the draw, I always said this, it would have to be 3 wins in a row for Pochettino to be anywhere near safe, right? And what I mean by that is the Leeds game, the Brentford game, and then the Newcastle game. Now, if we get the Newcastle win and we have the Leeds win, which bear in mind was a shit performance, but we still got through, and then Brentford draw, poor result in the middle of that, it's kind of okay. It's kind of endemic of our entire season.
When was the last time you saw us play well?
Mate, honestly, I struggled.
Villa in the FA Cup.
What about the City game? Was that after the Villa game?
Yeah,
the City game. I'd definitely say the City game we played well in.
Yeah, fair
we
enough.
always turn it on against the top teams. I don't get it.
You say we do, though. We're about to play Newcastle. We got thumped by them at St James's Park. The lowest point in the season for me was Man United at Old Trafford.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a sickener.
And actually, that could be a turning point of the games coming up as well. Like, we've got Man United coming up. I feel if we don't turn them over in the state that football club's in at the moment, again, you do really worry for Pochettino. But
let's be honest here. Do you think we lose this match? Because every indication of how we're playing would say we should lose this match, even with the injuries that Newcastle have, because we had levelled that at them last time round and they still beat us. But also I think that their maturity of their squad, they show a bit more character than us, and I think that they would remember, the fact that we ruined their chance to get to a League Cup final, and that'd be something there why they'd want to get a bit of revenge on us, and they'd smell blood as well. But I've just got a sneaky feeling that Chelsea win this match.
Really? You're that confident to go straight into a win?
Not confident. I've just got a sneaky feeling.
What is your prediction then? Tell me your actual prediction.
I'm gonna go. Even though I'm saying I've got a sneaky feeling, I'm gonna go 1-1 draw here.
Yeah, because that's exactly the result I was going to say. I was going to go for a draw. I'm not confident. Newcastle could absolutely turn us over. It could be 3-0 to Newcastle quite easily. But I'm going for a draw, because I just think, let's be honest, in the last game it was a 1-1 draw. And also, I just think with the injuries they've got, they've not. The key one for me is not having Trippier and not having Joel Linton. I just think both of those are probably one of their two best players, really. And then obviously they haven't got Wilson. They're missing some top quality players for them. So I just think that's more likely to be a draw. But mate, it could easily be a loss.
We are very interested to know your thoughts on this game. How do you see it going? Do you think there's any chance that Mauricio Pochettino can salvage something now, can show us something that we want to see? And how will the fans be inside the stadium? I'm interested to know that, because obviously the away travelling support were not happy with Mauricio Pochettino or the ownership. Do you think we can get a bit of a good atmosphere back at Stamford Bridge? How do you see the game going? What would your starting lineup be? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And also all of the stats that we have been using and our way of checking out the lineups and the injuries for this game, because my God, we've got a lot of them, is all provided to us by SofaScore. That is the app that we use. They are linked in the description to this video. People, I'll see you all in the next one.